Welcome back to Chapter 13 in our 3A1 series, and in this chapter we'll take a look at metallurgy and materials. So it's a fairly big chapter, this one, and there are 9 objectives to get through. The first objective in this video will define and explain the importance and application of mechanical properties of materials, including brittleness, hardness, ductility, malleability, plasticity, elasticity, and toughness. Objective 2, describe material testing, including tension test, Brunel and Rockwell hardness tests, Sharpie and IZOD impact tests. For number 3, describe the blast furnace and cupola furnace methods for iron production and compare the characteristics of grey, white, malleable and ductile cast iron. Objective 4, define steel and explain the compositions and characteristics of low carbon, medium carbon and high carbon steels. For number 5, define alloy steels and explain the benefits of alloying elements, including nickel, chromium, molybdenum, vanadium, copper, lead, manganese, and tungsten. For number 6, explain the purpose of hot working, cold working, and heat treating of metals. Objective 7, describe the production of carbon and alloy steel using the open hearth, basic oxygen, and electric arc furnace processes. For number 8, describe the properties and applications of non-ferrous metals and alloys. And finally, for objective number 9, explain the basic structure, properties and applications of polymers, ceramics and composites. So then, in this video we'll look at objective 1, which is very much just revision from what we did back in chapter 6, and that was to define and explain the importance of a bunch of different definitions as they relate to metallurgy, such as brittleness, hardness, ductility, malleability, plasticity, elasticity and toughness. Now, a little tip, as I told you back in chapter 6, invest in a dictionary because all of these definitions are in there. So let's take a look at them and review what we spoke about back in chapter 6. So with regarding mechanical properties of a material then, we can describe materials based upon their properties. And the properties depend upon 2 distinct features of the metal or the material. That is, first, the specific atoms, and by this we're talking about the type of element it is, and also the arrangement of those atoms, which we'll talk about in a later objective. And then finally, for number 2, the grain structure of the material, which is the arrangement of the molecules within the material. And the grain structure of a metal, for example, is very similar in look to the grain structure of wood. So the grain has a lot to do with the mechanical properties of any material. Now, the ones that we have to talk about are all the ones here on screen. And we've discussed all of these before back in chapter 6, and you also discussed all of them again back in 4th class. So this entire first objective should be a nice easy one, as it's all just review work. So the first one to talk about is brittleness. Brittleness is the inability of a material to resist deformation without a fracture. So what does that mean? If you were to put a piece of brittle metal in a vise and then hit it with a hammer and it fractures, well, then it would be brittle. If you put it in the vise and hit it and it didn't fracture, well, then it wouldn't be very brittle. Now, a good example, and here's a little bit of a follow-on from chapter 6, where we only would have defined what brittleness was. In this chapter, you need to try and think of an example material for each one of these definitions. So a classic example of brittleness, or a material that exhibits brittleness, is that of grey cast iron. It doesn't do well in tensile loading because it's very brittle and it will break. So, what can and can't you do with brittle metals? Well, first of all, you can't put them under tensile loading, they'll pull apart and snap. They also can't withstand any impact shocks or striking or quick sudden loading. It won't withstand that either. And then also, when it is being hit like this, they will usually always exhibit a clean fracture break across which you can see the grain structure of the material. The classic example I told you about in chapter 6 that I usually think of for brittleness is a material or a food item called peanut butter brittle. When it comes out the oven, then it hardens, you hit it with a spoon and it just shatters. That idea is a classic example of brittleness. Okay, the next one is hardness. Hardness is the ability of a material to resist penetration, wear, abrasion, cutting, scoring, or even indentation. Anything to resist any of those is described as hardness. And this may or may not be a surface condition. So the material, for example, may be case hardened. We'll talk a little bit about case hardening later. Now, classic examples for hard materials are things like carbon tool steel. Stellite is an interesting one. Stellite is another type of alloy that is used quite often. Diamonds, they're really hard, and then also tungsten as well. So anything like this that's going to be used for very hard wearing, hard cutting applications is always going to have a high hardness characteristic. And we can test this, of course, by generally taking something, indenting it into the surface, and then measuring either the depth of the indentation or the surface area in which it creates. The next one here is ductility. Ductility is the ability of material to be stretched and reduced in cross-sectional area, but without breaking. So good examples of this are mild steel, believe it or not, copper and aluminum. The typical examples I generally think of for ductility is anything that can be extruded, like aluminum gutters, aluminum siding, electrical wire. Any material that goes to make these kind of things is a good ductile metal. But as I said earlier, believe it or not, mild steel, which is basically low carbon steel, that also exhibits good ductile qualities. Now, we've seen this idea of a graph before, and we'll take a look at the graph I showed you back in chapter 6 again in this chapter. But in this figure 1 of your textbook on page 4, it's giving you an example now of how our stress-strain graph can alter. So what we're looking at here is that as we have 3 plots, these are an individual plot for an individual material. So for material A, quench steel, material B, mild steel, or material C, grey cast iron, we can see the ductile properties of it. Now, how do we know that one's ductile over the other? Well, the horizontal axis on this diagram is labelled up as strain. And we define strain back in chapter 6 as strain is basically the increase or decrease in length with respect to the original length. So the further we move across the strain axis, the more ductile the material is. So therefore, comparing these 3 materials, the point on line B is furthest to the right, meaning it's the most ductile. The grey cast iron, it's the least ductile as its point is furthest to the left. But also, quench steel, that's not very good either, it's also not very ductile. However, the quench steel will withstand a high degree of stress, more so than our material C, the grey cast iron, or material B, our low carbon steel. And again, we identified stress earlier as basically it's the resistance of the material to a load. And this is our idea of stress. Now, of course, if we strain the materials far enough, they will, of course, break. Okay, the next one we need to talk about is malleability. Malleability is another word for basically workability. How easy is it to take this material and basically work it, hammer it, or roll it, for example, and move it into a different shape or a different size or even a different thickness? So imagine a blacksmith taking a piece of metal out of a hot forge and they bang and bang on it with their hammer until it's in the shape that they want and it's also very much thinner. If a material is able to do that fairly easily, then it is malleable. So we're talking soft metals are the best ones for malleability, like copper, iron, aluminum, gold, silver, etc. All of those are pretty soft when we start working them. Now, we can do malleability when the metals are cold. However, most metals respond best when they are heated. So again, think of the blacksmith with their forge. They heat the metal, then they hit it. And that way the material will move that much easily as it's more malleable with an increase in temperature. Our next definition is elasticity. Again, I generally think of an elastic band for this one. But elasticity is where we load up the material with a strained load, we keep it below the proportional limit or below the elastic limit, and then when we remove the load, the material goes back to its original shape, just like an elastic band would. However, just like we spoke about back in chapter 6, remember, if we exceed the elastic limit, then the material will not come back to its original dimensions. So with materials that we use in power engineering, we don't ever want to do that. The next definition is plasticity. I always think of plasticine, or you call it Play-Doh in this country. Plasticity is the ability of a material to be moved or worked into a different shape, and then when you remove the load, it stays in that shape. So it's pliable, it's plastic, just like Play-Doh is, for example. You move that with your fingers into a different shape, you take your hands away, and it stays in that shape. So once again, any material that is fairly soft, like wax or even lead, babbitt, also known as white metal, and also our plastics as well. These are all classic examples of materials that exhibit plasticity. The next one goes hand in hand with brittleness, and this is toughness. It's the exact opposite of brittleness. So if we take a tough material, stick it in the vise again, and now hit it with a hammer, this time it's not going to break, or it's not going to break easily. It's probably more likely to bend or twist or deform. If it does that, then the material is said to have a good toughness characteristic. Toughness is an important characteristic for the materials that we use in power engineering. The next one is strength, and strength is very much a generic term, as strength is defined as a measure of the maximum load that can be placed on a material before it permanently deforms or breaks. But the problem with strength is there's different types of strength. There's ultimate strength. That's the most you'll be able to put onto a material before unstable plastic deformation takes hold, and we get a thing called necking prior to it breaking. We get impact strength. That's the same as toughness, its ability to withstand a strike or an impact. We get yield strength. This is the point at which yielding occurs, and this is generally accepted to be when the grains start to slip across each other within the material. And we can even get things like compressive or tensile strength. In other words, how well will the material resist a compressive or a tensile load before it permanently deforms or breaks. So strength, very much a general term here. We have to be specific when talking about strength for the type of strength we mean. Now the next one isn't in your textbook, but it's one that often gets asked about on the exam, and this is something called stiffness. Stiffness is defined to the degree to which an object resists its deformation in an applied load, as it's defined by something called Young's modulus. And Young's modulus comes out of Hooke's law that we talked about back in chapter 6, where E is equal to stress divided by strain. And that is proportional up to the elastic limit. Now, if we take a look at the diagram here on screen, this is a classic sort of example of a simply supported beam where a point load is placed at point B. And what is happening to the load? Well, the load is exerting a force downward, and so it's trying to bend the beam. Or to use the technical term, it's trying to cause sagging of the beam. If the beam is stiff, it's going to resist that deformation in line with the value of Young's modulus up to the proportional limit. Now take care, strength and stiffness are not the same. Stiffness is basically to the degree to which the object resists deformation. Strength is just that which does resist deformation or permanent deformation. They're similar, but they're not exactly the same. So you've got to be careful here with this one of stiffness versus strength. Okay, that's really it for all of those objectives in Objective 1. The only new one there that we didn't talk about back in Chapter 6 was stiffness. So check out these definitions, or be lazy like I like to and purchase a college dictionary, and all of those definitions are in your college dictionary, making life very much easier. So a nice quick easy objective for Objective 1. You can play the flashcard game with these definitions until you've got them memorized, and then when you're ready, come back and see me and we'll start talking about Objective 2, which is going to be talking about material testing. So whenever you're ready, I'll see you back soon.